Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm so lucky I get to have Andre on with me today, my favorite astrologer, the first one I started watching, and the one that I can understand above all astrologers. I tell you, Andre, everybody I have watched, it's like goes over my head. And but I started watching you, and you have made me. When I started watching, you made me calm. You know, you just say things like just so calmly, and I think he calms all of us down about this politics stuff, because we all, I don't care who you are, it kind of gets all of us angry sometimes. But I had some questions, and I just thought we'd go over some. And you in the chat, if you can think of anything you want to ask, go ahead and ask. And if we have time, we'll get to some of them. Marilyn says, love Andre and you together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we got Sherry from the swamp. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you, everybody, for coming. But I kind of got away from the news, Andre, for a little bit, and I caught up a little bit here, and I seen that the prediction I had with the cards a while back was true. Santos got the boot.
Yeah, he was well, the whole time. He's a good astrology study in that it's not known because there's no birth time. There's only a birthday, so. He's either very, very near the end of Cancer or just at the beginning of Leo. And it's a little tricky in this case to know, in that his behavior is more like a Leo, but there's something in his look that feels Cancerian. So I couldn't make up my mind about that. But the point is, that area doesn't matter whether it's late Cancer or early Leo. That's where the Pluto has been roaming around. And once his scandal was discovered, because people get in trouble for the things they do, they're always blaming their fate, but your fate will show up. If you've been racketeering, you might attract the attention of the law in some way. So once that happened, which already was in play in the spring, when he was getting in trouble, like really last winter, he won his seat, and very soon after it all started to come out. So the whole year has been this Pluto squaring. And I remember saying, this guy is just, whether it's now or later, he's just not going to make it. And so now Pluto went direct again in October, which is a separate thing that you would correlate more to what happened in Israel. That station, in late Capricorn is a bigger thing. But as it started to move from there, it basically finished him off. And so...
Well, I think one of his big mistakes too, I think there was some of them that wanted to keep him on because they said they didn't want to set a precedent, of people being booted out without being convicted. But oh my gosh, I mean, it was so much. And I just think one of his big mistakes is he turned on his own people. He said that they were a bunch of drunks and they cheated on their wives and they come in hungover and they gave out their cards like candy for other people to vote. I thought, oh my gosh, I think that it's kind of like Madison Cawthorn. Remember when he started talking about they were having orgies and they were doing coke and all this stuff? It's like, I mean, he robbed from some of his own coworkers. I think one of them, they said his mother and him, 30.
Yeah, there was I heard a Republican congressperson who, because they do have some reasonable ones in there. It's hard to believe because of the way that house behaves, but a few of them are pretty normal. And this guy just said, look, we had no choice. This guy's a thief. He's a racketeer. He was stealing from his voters and from us. Yeah, because he mentioned he got a few of the House people implicated and then they were banned. But I'll tell you, I don't think it would have mattered if he hadn't said anything just on what he did, right? Because opening his mouth, that just made it even worse, going on TV and saying things. But he was committing so many crimes that it's too much. I mean, it's just kind of you could say it's either the reflection or the cause of the Trump era, because some of these guys think they can just do anything, and lies are the same as truth. Being honest is the same as as being, a crook. But let's hope not. Let's hope that, slowly but surely these things get addressed, right? And,
yeah, alternative facts,
yeah,
and he sit there and he was like, he thought he was a mini Trump. He was like, this is a witch hunt. And he wasn't, you could tell he wasn't sorry. Well, everybody lies on their resume. And, so, he got what he deserved. But my feelings are, I feel like he's gonna do a book. He's probably got somebody in the wings to be a ghostwriter that is going to be a tell-all book, because this guy, he's already said they were drunks, wife beaters, all this stuff. He has no conscience, just like 45, no conscience. He's all for himself. I think he's going to see, how can I profit off of this now, since I'm kicked out, and get even with the people who voted against me.
Yeah, except that in between now and that, he'll probably do a spell in jail, because the charges he's facing, that's not a joke. The last thing you want is, you don't ever want the feds, when the feds charge you, even Trump is in a lot of trouble for the same reason. Once you have federal charges, they're like 95% sure, or more, that they have you locked in with clear evidence. And Santos is he's like a river, like a treasure trove of receipts and all kinds of malfeasance. So the odds that he doesn't spend time in jail are pretty low. And he says that too.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the base. He doesn't have the base like Trump has. That he thinks that can protect him in any way. Nobody's going to protect him. His constituents all want him gone. So I don't know who he thinks he is, that he's going to be protected from prison. But I got that he's definitely going to go to prison. And I forget last time I read on it what I got. If I got that 9 years, and if that was what he got, or if that's what he is sentenced to, but maybe didn't serve that much. But I agree, he's going to write that book from prison.
Okay, well then, there you have it. Yeah.
Yeah, and who's he going to bring down? That's what I'm curious about. What's he going to say about who? I almost want to buy the book.
Well, the only thing though would be that, because he's such a liar, then, I mean, think about it. If he says this person did this or this person did that, they'll just say, no, I didn't. And then if there's no proof, it's harder, to pin it on someone.
You got a really good point. Why would anybody believe anything he said? Yeah. So yeah, when you have the reputation, it's like what the boy who called wolf,
Yeah, I know.
I also noticed, I seen that the gag order had been reinstated, and with Ingrid, and I think Chutkin too. And I wondered what you felt was going to happen if he breaks it again, because it feels like he's just been playing chicken with them. Anyone else would have been held in contempt of court, a long time ago.
Well, the thing with Trump is that I really studied his chart for the last 7 years. So I know his positions as well as my own. I don't have to put the chart up. I can see where they are today and immediately track to what it's doing to him. And the key thing though is that starting in the spring, when Saturn entered Pisces, things really started to downtrend. That was right around when Alvin Bragg first charged, and then it kept growing. And then August was this thing that happened in his chart. There was an ascendant change that was very unfavorable, the sign that it changed into, where it had been in the previous sign like 20 something years, or a long time, and it switched and created a pattern that is a lot more negative. And now, as we're going into end of year and into the new year, the Saturn is gaining more and more momentum to where his Sun and Moon are, which will be reached in the middle of the year, next year. So this guy, I mean, sooner or later, things just get tighter. Like, we go week by week, there's like a squeeze, right? So it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he's put in jail. I'm not saying forever, but maybe briefly, or he just has to stop. Because the thing about Saturn, think of it as Saturn is the restriction energy, especially when you're in a situation where you've broken the rules of society. So Saturn then becomes the social force that imposes its restrictions on you. I see it a lot in, for example, criminals. They're constantly caught by the police after doing all kinds of awful things when the Saturn comes in, right? So he's going into 2024 with tremendous amounts of Saturn, and whether he is gagged and he can't talk, or he's put in prison and forced to stop, whatever it is, it's not a good scenario. Any astrologer would tell him, stop talking, but then he probably thinks it's only if I talk that I have any chance of saving myself, because he knows very well that he's broken so many rules. Maybe he thinks if I scream enough, maybe one of my followers will hurt someone. But how is that going to help you at this stage, right? I mean,
right.
This is like the way terrorists work. Terrorists think if I do something awful, some government will stop doing what they're doing to me. No, they won't. They'll do even more, because they get even more determined. So basically, Trump is between a rock and a hard place, bottom line. And it doesn't surprise me one bit that a number of intuitives, great tarot readers, possibly yourself and a number of others, have said that they don't even see him getting to win. Some of them say he'll win the nomination, but he won't be able to run. And you kind of think, well, why is that? Part of it, though, is that on top of the pressure to stop doing what you're doing, there's a lot of health pressure building in the chart as well, right? Mm-hmm. And that could stop him if some kind of health event, pops up. It's not going to matter if he wins the nomination, for example, right?
Yeah, so that's showing up in the cards over and over again, not just for me, but for other people I've seen as well. And I pulled a few cards on this, what they would do, before because that was one of my first questions. And so I got the justice card. So it's saying there's going to be some karmic justice. If he breaks this again, there's karmic justice. And I got the Queen of Swords in reverse. And what that's telling me is the judge is having a lack of empathy for his manipulation. They're sick of it. They are tired of it. I thought at first maybe they would just give him fines, but they've given him fines. That doesn't seem to do the trick. So the judge has a lack of manipulation, or a lack of empathy for his manipulation, for his rudeness, for what he's doing with the court. And now you're involving the judge's family, and you don't stop. You warned them to stop. So I get the 5 of Cups, that he's going to be very sorry if he breaks this gag order again. And then when I asked my pendulum, will Trump just only get a fine? It says no. And if I say, will Trump get house arrest? I think the first thing they're going to do, that's a yes. I got that the first thing they're going to do is give him house arrest. They're going to say, we gave you a fine, you didn't listen. We've warned you and warned you, you didn't listen. So now the beginning thing will be house arrest. And if that don't teach him, he may find himself in jail.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, may it be so. Yes. Because I honestly think that a person like this, there are no other solutions. I mean, I know what he's doing. We all know what he's doing. He's hoping to create outrage, about this has never been done to anyone. I wish that someone somewhere, the higher they are, the better. Obviously, judges can't really talk like this, because if they talk like this, that's when he can appeal, and it's dangerous to them. But people should just start saying, politicians, the reason it's never happened before is because we've never had a crook on this level like you. You're a total crook. You don't know how to live a day without breaking a law somewhere. So, the previous presidents, all of them, some were better, some were worse, but none of them that we know of, because we know for sure, none of them tried to take over the government, and no one did that. And no one behaves like this. So that's why.
And even if they were corrupt, it was secretly corrupt. They weren't openly corrupt like MTG and Bober and all these. They're just open with it right now, and nobody's hiding it, what they are. Right. I also wondered with Santos, what you felt about with Santos gone, and he left before he, was indicted or anything. I don't know a lot about, but Scott Perry, his texts have been revealing details about an effort to overturn the election. And they found some things in his text that were showing that. And he was also, Trump considered making him, said something about the attorney general. Have you looked into his chart at all, Scott Perry's, as if he will be indicted, or how you feel about him?
No, I have not. There I'll use my intuition to say that the feeling I get is that the Smith is prosecuting from the top down instead of from the bottom up. Like for a long time, Merrick Garland was doing the thing of, I'll go after the little guys and then I'll focus on Trump. But then at some point it became time to, do something because so much time had passed, and Smith is going from the top. So my feeling is Perry and others are going to be facing the music, but not right away. It'll be a while before they're, before they're charged, or, we hear about more open investigations and things like that. Because in a way, on this level, Santos is a little fish. He's just this, total loser, lying, and he got into the house, big deal. But the people that were doing all this stuff, remember on January 6th, like, you got to ask yourself, why was MTG, Matt Gaetz, they were asking for pardons. Well, why? Why do you need a pardon unless you think you did something? So, I mean, if I'm seeing this and you're seeing this, you don't think Smith, who's a career prosecutor, is kind of going, oh, that guy was asking for a pardon. I wonder why. So, but if you bring them in now, it's probably too distracting, and it would be, it feels to me like it's a background thing for now. But Perry, yeah, I would say he's another one that is going to be facing the music. Yeah.
Okay, and I pulled a card, and I'll do my pendulum, see what I get. Will Scott Perry be indicted? Will Scott Perry show me stronger? Okay, so that on my pendulum is a yes. And I'm like you, I got the Three of Wands, which is a yes card, but it's looking into the future. It's in the future. It's not right away. It's waiting for that indictment to come in. So I think he will be, but I think you're right. They're going after they want the big ones. They want Rudy Giuliani. They want Trump, Mark Meadows. They want all them. And they're going to use the little guys to get them. And I think there was I'm trying to think that with the judge, they're saying, I wrote something down I wanted to ask you about. Georgia, Judge McAfee, he held a 6-hour hearing that has Trump in a panic. He wants to go on trial with 8 defendants max. Fani Willis, who's prosecuting Trump, and 18 others. She's asking the court to have a court-ordered date for him of August 2024. And the defendants would have until June then to cooperate or to try to get a plea deal. After that, they'll have to plead guilty or take their chances with the court. So they were saying that he says he wants 8 people max. The biggest that has ever been done is 12. They said that's very difficult because the jurors can't keep track of everything, who did what, and trying to cross-examine that many people. So that's why they want to do 8, because 5 has been the most. But I'm wondering if you have felt anything about, do you think that they will get that August 2024? Because I think the thing is I think Trump's scared because after June, there'll be no plea deal. They're going to, and that's going to make everybody want to flip. Don't you feel? I mean, they feel like if they get that earlier date, they're going to have to flip or plead guilty and they know the evidence is against them.
Yeah. No. And by the way, this goes to, there were people that were frustrated with the slow nature of the Georgia case, but she really, dotted her I's, crossed her T's. She made sure she had everything all set up in the strongest possible way. And I would just see this as part of the unbelievable, flurry of energy against him in 24. So of course he's going to scream murder because he's going to say, look at this, they're coming after me in the spring. And then they put this other trial 2 months before the election. This is clearly Joe Biden's whatever, which is not, or maybe, I don't know. I can't get inside Fani Willis's head, but the point is, I think these prosecutors want the American public to see his misdeeds before they vote, which I think is the fairest thing to do. And August next year is really no better than July. September is somewhat better. There are points there where he gets a little bit of assistance here and there, but point is, I could totally see a situation where there's an agreement around that. And even if, for example, let's say the judge, because what are we talking about here? Maybe they set up the date now, and maybe the date, it could get changed later. But in the meantime, that sets his entire team trying to work to, see if they can change the date. So the whole situation is a mess, and anything is possible around things getting completely awful, for him as time is passing. And now, like I said, right, Saturn is in early Pisces. Each day it's getting a little bit more momentum, making its way in. It's like that. It's moving in on him.
I'll see what I get here. Will Fani be able to get the court ordered date for August 2024? Will she be able to get that? Okay, I'm getting yes. I pulled a couple cards for it. I got that he got the 9 of Wands. He's tired. He's going to be tired. He's going to be guarded. Trump, this is him tired and guarding himself, but he's going to say this is too hard for him. He's going to say he has all this stuff to do. He's going to say it's a hardship with his election, like you said. But I do get that they are going to make a quick decision, and this stands for a quick decision because they have the evidence. And yeah, I think she's going to get it. I think she's going to get that. And like you said, it could be changed. He could appeal it. He could come back. But I think they'll get it. I think the judges are getting tired of his bull, and
no, for sure. It's the way things on this level, they tend to be where it's frustrating for a lot of people because they're not familiar with the slow pace of the legal system. And it's not just Trump. This happens for absolutely everyone. This is actually the brilliance of the American system, that people get due process. And so lots of criminals, I've seen plenty of crime shows where I'll kind of go, why is this person committing a crime in 1 year and it takes them 4 years to go to court? Because they go through a lot of motions and defenses and lawyers and this and that. But then when it starts to roll, you're in a lot of trouble, right? Because by the point they're going into court, which, by the way, Trump knows very well that talking, yapping, and saying things, that works outside the court. Once you're inside the court, you can't go into a criminal trial and do what he did in the civil trial, where whenever he's on the stand, he starts doing soliloquies and saying things like, they're out to get me. They'll just tell him, stop, that's not the question, And if he keeps talking, they can find him in contempt and haul him off to jail. So basically, the situation is getting rougher. Let's just say that, a lot rougher.
It's like a child throwing a tantrum. Like, I'll get his way if he throws a tantrum enough. I think he's hoping that his people, they'll fight for me. But I think they're getting tired of fighting for him.
Well, and I'll tell you something about that. It's one of the ironies, and you could see this in his chart years ago. I remember doing more than one video where I said, the way the chart is set up, his own people, his own support system, which is like in the classical astrology, if you're looking at a chart from the Middle Ages, that house is called the house of servants, right? Which is kind of still is today, but doesn't apply as easily as it did then. But it's the idea that if you're the boss, the people that are your support system are the sixth house. And he has a lot of pressure. He's had a lot of pressure there, continues to have pressure. So then, as a result, let's face it, he keeps saying the Democrats are out to get me. Every person, I believe all of them that are testifying against him, they're all Republicans. Everyone that has said anything about him is a Republican who basically decided, I'm not going to follow this guy. Either I've become too honest to do this, or I'm, it's too dangerous for me. Maybe I'll end up in jail too, right? So they stop. So they're all his own people, right? So the idea that they're going to save him, I think his only play, you tell me what you think, but to me, he thinks that by making enough noise, his followers might do awful things, which, by the way, they already are. I'm sure the viewers know that part of the reason these gag orders are being enforced is that he's making threats to the judge's wife, and the judge's wife is getting, threatened, and so the judge himself and so forth. So those judges can then, when they, file their paperwork, say, look what this guy's doing. I mean, he's not being silent. He's trying to create violence. And he'll say, well, that's First Amendment. But First Amendment doesn't let you just, for instance, you're not allowed to go into a movie theater and scream fire, and then cause a riot. You're not supposed to do that, even though you have the right to say whatever you like. But there are limits, right? And he's finding out what those limits are.
I think he's trying to get his way by fear. I think like when he had those people that were afraid to vote against him in the impeachment because, they were afraid because they're threatened. What about your family? What about your, you'll need protection, because he's got all these crazy MAGA people that I think he feels like if he scares the judge and about his wife, my wife is in danger, the clerk, my family's in danger. 100 phone calls a day they're getting with death threats, that maybe he'll drop out of drop the case and he'll get a lawyer that's more prone to him, but I that's how I'm feeling. He thinks, whether that's true or not, in his own little childlike mind, he thinks, I'll scare them. I'll scare you. Yeah. And I'll get my judge. I'll get one of my judges in there, get you out.
Yeah. It's totally true. It's just that, like we said earlier, right? That's the way a terrorist behaves. If I do enough awful violence, but typically any system will try to protect itself even more, because the system, I mean, think about it. All these judges, right? They're the third branch of government. They're in the legislature, not the legislature, the courts, right? So Trump is a threat to them. I mean, they don't know what's it going to be like if he becomes president. How do you know that he doesn't come after them? He comes after everyone. So if I'm a judge, I'm thinking especially important, I'm thinking it's very necessary to stop a person like this, not just because he breaks the law, but he's threatening the entire system, to upend it. And by the way, he's saying it openly. He's saying, I'm going to end the Constitution. I'm going to use the Justice Department to prosecute my enemies. He's being, wide open about it. So,
right. Yeah. And then they got that plan 2025 or whatever it's called, to where they said that they want to they want to give the police unlimited power. They want to give them weapons of war. They want to get rid of the Justice Department. They want to get rid of anybody who can stop them and place their people in there. That is not a democracy anymore. If that happens to us, then that is, we have like a Hitler type leader who can jail and get rid of anybody that goes against him. Heck, he could go against us that we're online here. You're talking against me, put them in jail, find something against them if you're making too much noise. That's not a democratic president. And it's just I can't understand how his Republican people can't see that, how they can be so blind.
They do, but part of it is what you said. You said, which I hadn't really realized how deep it was till I read it, that back in the impeachment days, the second impeachment, especially because they saw that he tried to, he incited the riot, but a lot of them were scared for their family. So they didn't want to do it, but they know, and it's either because they're scared for their safety, or they think they won't get reelected because that base is obsessed with Trump. So you're seeing the people running against them seldom say things about him and so forth. But even so, the U.S. government, it's a big system, and the courts and the rule of law is pretty strong. People think it's a joke, and they only prosecute certain people. They ignore rich people. Not always. Remember that guy recently, that Murdoch character? He was he's a really rich guy, and they found him guilty, and by a jury of people that live there and so forth. So it's not a good idea to be this flagrant. I mean, Trump is crazy. He's a crazy person. He really is. I'm convinced he's a bit in dementia already, because I've often said on my channel that I feel like Trump 20 years ago would not have been this heedless, this crazy in his approach, because he would have realized this isn't going to work. I mean, if I do it this way, there are too many forces that are going to come after me. And so
it's a cornered rat. It's a cornered rat, and he's going to do anything and everything to save himself. And he knows the evidence is against him. So all he can think of to do is fear and use his base, because or I have to be president by any means possible to save myself. Right. I had a few subscriber questions here. This was M Turpo 4818 said, what is the best strategy to help the Dems take over as many critical political seats as possible? What can we do to help? I don't know what you think, but the only thing I can think is vote and bring as many people to vote as you can. Offer to give people rides,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. I mean, the frustrating part of all this is that if you look back at every election since 2000, that famous election in 2000, which already showed this, because in 2000, a lot of Floridians voted for Ralph Nader. And so then that caused the problem, Gore lost and Bush came in, and that led to multiple judges being appointed. And then in 2004, okay, that one they won close. Say we ignore that one, but 2016, totally, it was Democrats didn't vote. They just didn't think it was a serious enough thing. They thought Hillary's going to win. It's no problem. So many of them stayed home, and then we get this. So if Democrats just vote, if they realize the danger, especially of a situation like this, that's all you need to do. Vote, tell your friends, inform yourself. But in most cases, we're preaching to the choir. I'm assuming if someone is watching this video, we're not exactly trying to convince them, you shouldn't vote for Trump. They're not going to vote for Trump. But make sure you vote, because, it's important, especially if you live in a battleground state. If you live in those states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico a little bit, Florida too, because Florida, even though, right now Florida appears to be really red, it's a lot closer than people think. Even Texas is starting to turn a little more like that, right? Georgia. Yeah. So North Carolina. There are places where it's absolutely critical. If you live there, Ohio too. Ohio is supposed to be red, but you saw what they voted when they were presented with the abortion issue. Pretty clear, 57%, right? And that's going to come up a lot during the election, because women are mad, and they should be mad. I would be furious. I would be trying to get as many of my women friends to, get on a bus. We're all going to vote together. Let's just flood the zone with votes, because it's awful what these men are doing, to their rights.
It is. I can't believe that any woman would vote for him just based on that alone, taking away your rights, taking away your birth control. And let's force you to have as many babies as possible, but we're going to take every means of taking those babies care of them. We'll take away WIC. We'll take away food stamps. We'll take away free lunch programs. So we'll make you have 6 babies you can't afford, even if your life's in danger, even if you were raped, even if you were incest, and we're not going to help you. Once they're out, we care about life until it's out. Then we don't care no more. And you would think that they would see, because they're going to be the ones having to raise all those kids and being forced to have them, because they'll go after birth control next. They're talking about it already.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you see, a lot of this though is very, very hard to do in the 21st century, because a lot of this behavior would work better back in the day when there was less of a global energy. The internet has changed the world so that information gets around really fast. Now, you can complain and say there are sometimes a lot of falsehoods, disinformation. That's true. But, they tend to know which ones they are. They catch up with you pretty quickly, and people connect with one another. And this is why in places like China and Russia, they have a lot of a harder time controlling their population now, because, the population is more aware. So I was reading that in China, the women now are not interested in reproducing as much, which is causing a big problem for them, because they don't like having immigration. So then what do, right? And imagine running a country with more than 1 billion people. That's not a joke. You're probably thinking, well, what if they all go crazy at the same time, or, something happens? So this is the idea that women they're just too aware now. They've realized their place in life. I think it's 100% the way it should be,
I do too. Fox News was saying that the Republican men are having a hard time finding a liberal woman who will date them. They said that us liberal women, we don't want the macho men. We want the beta men. We don't want the men that can protect us, that are the soldiers, the farmers. It's like, do they think that Democratic men can't protect can't be protective of their wives, or can't be,
this is like saying that it's like saying that you can't be an alpha male, or you can't be and also be respectful. Why is it so hard to keep 2 things in your mind at the same time? It's like I can't walk and chew gum. It shouldn't be that hard. You can be masculine and still be respectful. It's not it's not an impossible thing. That's the bottom line. Masculinity means you have to be, awful and come on, this is ridiculous.
Right. My husband, we've been married for 30 years, and we, we're equal partners, and he respects me. I respect him. And if somebody tried to hurt me, he'd protect me. I'd protect him. It's crazy. Right. They're talking like that. They don't want to date them because they don't want a male chauvinist pig that's going to try to tell them they have to, how to live.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
women don't want that. They don't want to be in the 1940s anymore, or
Yeah. Well,
1840s.
This in the astrology ties a lot to the discovery of that planet in 2005, and this sense that it's a synchronicity. It's the way the planets get named. That's already by itself a fascinating story, like how Pluto was named by someone who never even had a connection to astrology or anything, but got named the very thing that it is. And this planet was named, and it has a woman's. It's a warrioress. So immediately you have this female energy rising, and it's actually competing with Pluto and winning the battle, because you see all women and other groups that have been left behind are rising in the world, and it's an unstoppable force. I mean, you can try to do things to slow it down for a while, but what ends up happening is when you do what they did with the abortion rights, now the likely result is it'll be even stronger after. They'll set up regulations and rules that make it, totally solid, where before it was kind of a bit, more restrictions and so forth. So efforts like that make it worse for the people trying to stop you, instead of, getting the result they want. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sonia said they're going to take the babies that you can't afford. Well, the foster care system is so overrun right now. They can't take care of the ones they have, and support them. So I don't know how they think they're going to do that. Said childbirth is down all over the planet. So let's force women to have more babies they can't afford. Well, maybe if you want women to have more babies, maybe you should have some things to help young women and stuff. I have another one from Elizabeth. She said, hello, Deann. Can you ask about President Zelensky's chart? What is in store for him in the coming months? We hear so much about Trump and Netanyahu, but less and less about Mr. Zelensky. What do you get for him? I have so much love and respect for the Ukrainians, and the war over there seems not likely to be over soon. So have you looked at his chart lately?
Yeah, Zelensky's chart, it gains a lot of energy and favor and positivity, improvement from the middle of next year to the middle of the following year, and that's based on assuming that his published time. He is, what is out there as his time is 2 p.m. on that day. I can't remember the day now, but I'm remembering his chart in my mind. So he has Gemini rising. If you have Gemini rising, Jupiter crosses through there next year, and that's a big uplift. And when it goes through there, to give you an example of how powerful Jupiter going through the ascendant was when Bill Clinton won in 1992 and when Barack Obama went in 2008. And 2008 was the most, spectacular election in a long time, because he won big and he was this huge superstar. It's that logic that Jupiter going through there raises your profile and people like you and so forth. So for Zelensky, things are really looking up from the middle of next year and for a whole year, whereas Putin's chart in 25 starts to really suffer, because Putin has a lot of Libra planets, and with a lot of Libra planets, you're facing a Saturn opposition, and those things tend to be more graphic. Let's say when you're in the middle of a war, you want the better planets to be on your side. And plus, Zelensky, when the war broke out, that was pretty dangerous. He was lucky not to be killed or something, because there were some really very, very difficult aspects around the time of the invasion, but he figured it out. He figured out how to navigate through. And all of that said, it does, as I said, he still has a ways to go, because we're in December, so this is around late May when the switch comes, right? And it's curious that a lot of it most likely is in 25, which is post the American election, when that really comes to bear fruit. So,
yeah, I haven't read on him in a while, but the last time I read on Putin, I got that he's not doing too well. And I feel like by the spring, he may be gone. I feel like he may go, and then later 45 will go, that they're going to leave this world, because I know his health isn't good as it is. He was in bad health to begin with. And all this stress, that he's put on himself by doing, I don't think he's going to be there. There's somebody running against him, I heard. I forget whose name it was, but some people asked about would they be successful, and I just think sometimes people that go against him end up disappearing.
Yeah, well, he's another one that I've done his chart a number of times, and then all of a sudden people will put in comments saying, well, how do you know that's his time? It's Russia, this and that. There's a time for him that's been around for years. Sure, you could doubt it, but he appears to be this way, Scorpio rising, kind of fits him pretty well. And being Scorpio rising, I think it's 9:30 in the morning, something like that. So the problem he's in is that from 2023, solid until for a minimum of 5 years, he's in a really difficult health zone the whole time, right? So
Yes.
Now the thing is, if you get that at a younger age and there's nothing happening in your chart, or in your life, odds are it would just be that aspect when it doesn't take you with health, then you can get maladjustments, a more difficult time of flow. But when you already know there's a strong suspicion that something's going on with him, then that's a difficult place to be in. And especially when it lasts this long, right? Because it's going on and continuous, right? They're the worst with health aspects. The ones you don't want are the ones that catch a part of your chart and spend a long time in a certain place, because then the problem can just extend and extend. So I would say, his situation is complicated. I would say as bad or close to as bad as Trump's, which is interesting because they're the two thugs basically on the scene.
They are. Right, I think they're connected in some way. They're gonna go near the same time. Lynn said the highest general of the Ukraine military and the Russian military have started talking. They want the war over. Zelenskyy is opposed to it, but the Ukraine general said this is going forward, period.
What do you mean going forward? Like, you mean that they're going to try to stop the war?
That's what I'm wondering. What do you mean, Lynn? Is it that they're going to try to stop the war and let Ukraine have their country, or are they going to think they want to let them take it over? I don't think Zelensky's going to stop. They've lost too much. He's not going to, they said that they would fight to the last drop of blood. And Sonia said that white people are going to take the children to, white people are going to take them, not foster care. So there probably won't be foster care. Yeah, but what about the children that aren't white? If they take away birth control, you're not going to just have white babies. You're going to have babies of all different colors. And the people that are here that are immigrants that they say they don't like, they're going to have babies too, So it's, I don't know what they're going to do. I had, I don't know if you know who this is. Carrie Dixon 6844 said, what does Jasmine Crockett's chart show as far as her political future? She's forthright and speaks so well. She's this one black lady. I don't know if you can see her. She's a United States Congress representative. She's really good at being outspoken here. She's an American lawyer and politician who is the U.S. representative from Texas. But I've seen her, and she's pretty, she's pretty out there as far as, speaking her mind. I could look up her birth date for you.
Yeah, I should have done that. That's one I can take note and look up these people, because I haven't looked at hers. There's so many of them floating around, but I'll just say that just based on the times that I've heard her speak and so forth, she's very sharp, a great communicator, and people like that typically do well. Even if you just think of the near term, her odds, if she won in her district, particularly when you're looking at House seats and Senate seats, there's no guarantee, but almost always, whichever way the presidency goes, they pull a lot of people with them. And so her odds are pretty good. She's in the House, right? This woman,
yes.
Crockett. Yeah.
Yes.
So then she goes
very good speaker.
Exactly. So her odds automatically improve a lot. But I'll take a look when I get a chance to analyze it a little more to see if something verifies that or not. And remember that a lot of it with this is that getting proper birth times is really difficult. The only place that you're guaranteed to get a birth time is someone is born in California because they have public records. So you have
Oh.
but in a lot of other places, you just all you have is the day. And for getting a sense of where something big happening to a person, the time is important around that. Yeah.
It makes a difference. I've seen her, and I was wanting to jump out of my chair and cheer because she will tell them exactly, well, you talk about Biden's kids. Well, what about Trump's kids? And she has her notes and she is ready. So I see her doing well. I could see her in the future sometime even being in the Senate if she wants to, as she keeps going. But I see her career going well. Mimi Rose wanted to know, when will MAGA Mike, Speaker of the House, be gone? Have you done his chart and seen anything about him? I feel like he's not going to last real long. I feel like there's going to be a scandal come on him, and I think he will be gone before the election.
And, that one, he's another one where I know the day, but not the time. And based on the day, there's not a ton to work with to suggest to me that he would go down. Like, in other words, if you compare his chart without a time, there are many charts that signal more strongly. So for instance, the George Santos situation, you could kind of see, okay, this isn't going to work. It's too complicated. In the case of this guy Johnson, it's less clear to me. I can't, but like, for instance, two more that I know are suffering right now, and I have no birth time, are MTG and Matt Gaetz, because they're getting Saturn pressure no matter what. They're getting it, and so it's a problem for them, right? With Johnson, it's less clear to me. So it's possible, though, what you say is true, because the way that house is, the way the house works, you saw what happened with Santos. Half of them voted to remove him and half voted to keep him. So they're very divided, very split. And they could get to a point where they can't continue and they have to, appoint someone. Yeah.
I think that, I was trying to see if I got any cards. I did use my pendulum on it, and I got that he is going to be leaving. I've read on it before, and I had gotten that there's some kind of a scandal coming for him. I feel like it's going to be a sex scandal. He adopted this boy when he was in his 20s, and the boy was a teenager, and you don't hear about him any. And he also has this porn app that he gives to his oldest son to monitor his porn habits and let him know if he shouldn't be doing something. It's like, what kind of parent does that? So I feel like there's going to be something. I got that he, him, the king of wands, he's a leader, he's passionate, and he's confident, with the strength card. Right now, he's feeling happy and a success, but I feel in the little bit more distant future, he's going to be disappointed. Have regrets. There's going to be some loss. And then when I ask my pendulum, will he be voted out in 2023? I get no. Will Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, be voted out in 2024? Yes. What month? I'm feeling like it may be this summer. Something's going to come up that he may be, according to my pendulum, that time. Stuff can change, energy can change, and it's really hard to do time. Sometimes I try just to see, and I've been right a lot of times. But, they can always change things. But I think he's going to be out, and I think Hakeem Jeffries will be in before even the election take place, because I think how many times are they going to be held up 15 votes for a Speaker of the House, and they had this one and it goes wrong? I think maybe they'll want somebody they think is going to be more moderate, and Hakeem may win, and they may get some Democrats to come, or Republicans to join the Democrats to get him, because who else are they going to get? Who else is good enough to,
yeah, I don't know, but although the Republicans letting the Democrats be the speaker, that seems, wow, what a change that would be, because they're so dead set on, against allowing that kind of thing. But they're definitely in flux. There's no way that, you can tell that finding stability in that Republican House is next to impossible, because they've got that wing that is totally into supporting Trump. and then a whole bunch of them that are not that way, because partly too, they can't be that way because if they're in districts where it's close, or especially if Biden won the district, if they're like that, they'll probably lose their seat. So you get all these conflicted energies, and it's very difficult for them to govern properly, right?
Yeah, and Sunny Grandma said when let's see, or there was another one before that. Nanette Hodges 3565 says, will Donald Trump get put in jail or will he flee the US? Well, we already did that one because they're watching him. I don't see him fleeing, and he can't hide.
I see him fleeing more likely than being put in jail. That's my feeling.
Yeah, if it's a choice, but I know he's thinking about it. I know he's talked about it. But let me read on. Let me try. I haven't read on that yet. And but I don't get him going to jail. I do get him, and I've read on that a lot of times. Will Donald Trump flee the country? No. Will he go to jail? No. Is he going to have a problem with his health or his heart? Yes. So I don't get him fleeing, but I'm sure he's thinking about it. I'm sure if there's a way, he's thinking about it. But
the thing is that in astrology, the where the planet is the place where it lives. So the Saturn in his chart, that house is both jails and hospitals, for example. So it's the idea that you're sequestered. You are either your health has collapsed, and so you need to be interned, or you get put in jail because you're a criminal. Either way, there's an isolation factor, and that's the planet that is putting tremendous pressure in 2024. So it doesn't have to be jail. It can be, some kind of sequestration, including what you said earlier. If he's put at home, if he's home arrest, that fits in there as well as a
yes. And we've got somebody, Ness said, wants to know, Andre, your thoughts about Mars, Venus, Pluto conjunction in February, all in Capricorn. I don't know what none of that means, so there you
go. Conjunctions like that, you have to relate them to people's charts. That a person that has Capricorn energy or Virgo or Taurus, it'll help them because the energy gets transferred either through the conjunction of Capricorn or through the triangle energy, the trines. Mm-hmm. But it's more difficult for Libras, Aries, and Cancers, because then you get an opposition or a square, right? And if you talk about the world conditions from the planets being there, first of all, it moves pretty quickly because these conjunctions, they happen and then the planets start to spread out. Venus will move pretty quickly, the Mars will go along, and then basically the Pluto is left there by itself. So I tend to look more for stations when there are points in the year, like what happened in October when Pluto was stationary. Those mm-hmm. station periods they tend to be tied to important world conditions. But really, these questions, when someone asks about clusters like this, where they're really rich or great for exploring is on the personal level. If a person knows their chart, they can then calibrate and see, okay, what's this thing doing to me? And it can be really useful in your life, because if it's flowing nicely, then your life flows and things are happening and things work well for you. And if it's challenging, rather than being scared, you use it as a kind of momentum to do something maybe a little more difficult, to move yourself to the next level. So it can be a good moment for changing something important in your life, that you've been kind of waiting on and so forth. So
okay, so yeah. You can use it to your advantage if you know.
Definitely, yeah. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
And then Rebecca Davis says, what does the astrology say about the upcoming debt ceiling in January? I don't know. Have you done any astrology on that?
I have not, but I my feeling is that I just get, I don't know what you think or what you feel or what you intuit. My sense is they're not going to do that anymore now, between now and the election. The Republicans, I don't think they're going to. Do you feel like they'll shut down the government or do anything like that?
No, I don't. I don't
Because
think that's
those kind of plays, the problem with those kinds of plays politically, it's why it doesn't feel right to me, is that they play against you more than they play for you. Like you need a lot of time between your last stunt. If you do remember when Trump back in the day, he closed down the government because he was angry about losing the 2018 midterms when they lost the House. So he closed down the government. And then after that, the situation cooled off. They don't want to be too close to the election. And this happened also when Obama was president, and they kept doing these things. It wasn't near the election period. It was always way before. So my feeling is that it won't happen, even though they may take it to the edge again and all that kind of stuff, because they always do that, right? They can't agree on anything. So, yeah.
I got the same thing, Andre. I got the 5 of Wands. There's going to be a lot of conflict about it. There's going to be arguing and fighting about it. There's going to be some tension, a clash of egos over it. And each side's going to try to stand their ground. They're going to stand their ground because they're rivals. But at the end, I got the 3 of Pentacles. They're going to come to some teamwork. They're going to come to a mutual thing, because it's not good, especially in an election year. If they shut down the government, it's going to look bad for the Republicans. So I feel like they are going to find out some shared goals. They're going to compromise, and it's not going to shut down. But they're going to fight about it. They're going to fight and argue about it. Let's see, put these up here. Let's see. How do you feel regarding the postal board? We have what's her name here? Fed Girl 7318 said, regarding the postal board of governors, will Biden appoint 2 people to replace the ones leaving in December? Okay, let's see if I can get that one. Will Biden replace the 2 people? What is it? Will Biden appoint 2 people to replace the postal board, Willie? Okay. Will Biden replace 2 people to replace? I'm getting yes. And then have you seen in the charts if anybody, Mimi Rose asked, will anybody seriously get injured because of Trump's hateful rhetoric? I don't know if you can see something like that in a chart.
The thing is, so here's the thing, the overarching energy, we're in similar patterns to the Civil War in the 1860s. So you can count on there being some kind of unrest. In other words, even if, which I think will happen, Democrats win the election in 2024, it's just that the MAGA people are not going to be happy. And if you're looking for stability in the near term, no, it's unlikely, because we have to get through to the other side of this. And those cycles are still in play. They're still there in 24 and 25. You're looking at later in the decade, 26, 27, maybe even 28, before things cool off. And there's always danger to, I'm not seeing all kinds of people, but in other words, for example, how we get these horrible mass shootings every so often where many people die in one event. I don't think that'll happen politically, but you might get 1 or 2 people, suffering. Remember how even during Trump's period, some guy sent these bombs, trying to, these pipe bombs, he put them in the mail and he tried to kill some Democrats or something. That kind of thing is always there. Just like, remember, Paul Pelosi, because just from being Nancy's husband, he was hit in the head with a hammer. That's pretty crazy. Things like that, yeah, they can happen. Absolutely. So yeah. I would be amazed if we didn't get at least 1 or 2 events, but nothing to change the nature of things or anything like that.
Yeah, I got the same thing. I used my pendulum mat and I asked if there will be any violence, and I got, a little bit, but I got just a couple people. There's going to be like 2-3 people that something might happen to, they're going to threaten, but I think they'll get a hold of that. After what happened at the Capitol, they're watching, and yeah, there will be a couple people probably hurt, but it's just, people got to keep themselves safe. But, when you have that many people, there's bound to get 1 or 2 of them out there. And we've got so much going on now, too, with the Israel. There was a man who shot 3 Palestinian students, college students. And then there's people that are going to the Jewish synagogues. And I had somebody who said that she's a teacher there and for preschool, and they had a bomb threat. So there's always going to be, people that are out there that are bad people, and Trump kind of, those are his people, so.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 360 million people living somewhere, it's so difficult to say, oh no, it's going to be all smooth, not a peep, rarely. And then when you amp up the energy because everyone is on top of it more, just picture this enormous country and everyone has a TV or a phone, and then if they're not mentally balanced and for whatever reason, maybe they're using drugs, who knows, something. So then, they'll get enraged and do something stupid. That's already happened more than once. And so it's almost like, it's asking a question like that in this country is like saying, is it going to rain in 2024?
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. When you got some madman who's desperate, and encouraging it, chances are pretty high something will happen. But I think it's nothing big like at the Capitol, it's going to happen. I don't believe. But I wanted to, before we go, I want to tell everybody, first of all, please like and subscribe to this channel and please go to Andre. If you don't know who he is, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't, if you don't, you should go to his channel. You should subscribe to him. I have his channel link in the description box. He is awesome. He is the best astrologer I know. He is so good. You have classes too, don't you, on astrology or a patriarch or something where people can learn astrology?
Yeah, I do a Patreon. I do a class on the weekend, and you can sign up, and it's you sign up month to month, so there's no big commitment. You can leave if you don't like it, and so every Sunday, at least for now, I may change it, but it'd be once a week, no matter what. And then all the classes from the past are already there as well. So if you want to learn astrology, that's the place to go. And as far as the channel,
joined. She said it was great. And she wants to learn astrology. She really liked it. And she watched the movie you recommended. She said it was really.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie. That movie Stutz. It's a really good movie to learn about, human psychology. And see, the thing is that charts, they give you a set of planets and, angles and so forth. But if a person's psychology improves, their planets vibrate better and you get a different destiny, literally, right? So there will still be, things in your life that can't be helped, but the majority of what happens to you is based on your vibration, where you are in your psychology. So improving the psychology is a really good idea. And this Stutz character, he is very clever at explaining why keeping your mind always on the high end of things, staying positive, using your imagination to focus on gratitude and things like that, why that is so helpful. And in astrology, what that is you are channeling Saturn and Jupiter in the best possible way. Saturn is the work, the effort to do it, which is not really that much of an effort. It's just like a remembering, a focus. And it's on Jupiter, which is the positive, optimistic, expansive type of energy. And when you're doing that, all your planets start to vibrate better. And then your situation changes. Like then you get cycles where before it might have been pretty good, but then it's like a lot better, right? You get a better result, something that you've been trying to manifest in your life. So that's why it's fun to watch it. Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it, and then my puppy kind of took my attention away. She's got me trained well. She wanted me to play with her, but I did watch a little bit of it. Something about him reminded me of you a little bit, and I mean in a very best way. He has that kind of same sense of humor, and he's just very the voice. He's got similar kind of voice. I don't know, but something about it. But it looked very interesting, so I'm going to finish watching it today. So
I think he's. I'm pretty sure. When I looked him up, it was hard to get a birthday, and he's either Pisces or Aries, but the way he expresses himself is very Aryan. He's very dismissive, and he even curses at times when he wants to just say, "Just stop that already." Just so he's probably Aries.
I liked it. I liked what I saw. So I'm gonna finish watching it today. So. Thank you so much for coming on here with me. It is always such an honor. I mean, a big honor to have you come on. I mean, I've admired you for so long, and I'm just touched that you would even come on to my channel. I mean, I think you're great.
Oh,
And
thank you. I appreciate the
I
compliment. Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And anybody wants to learn astrology, I had my PD. You all know my friend PD. She asked me who did I think was the best one to teach her, and I said Andre. So she went over there. So go over and join his Patreon thing if you want to learn astrology, because I that's who I would want to teach me if I had to learn. So I'm not sure if I have the mental capacity, but I may join just to see if I do, if I can do it. You never know till you try. So
Yeah,
anyway,
there's also one final thing that
yeah.
I'll be putting up this thing sometime in the next few days. I had a collaboration with a really good astrologer, and we talked about world patterns based on the planets. And this guy is really good at studying and explaining those cycles. And so we had I think it's probably going to be 2 different videos, about an hour each, where we're talking about countries, that are connected to certain planets and things that have happened in the past. Because when you're looking at cycles, the critical thing is see what they were doing going back sometimes 100 years or sometimes 50 years. Sometimes you go back hundreds of years to see what was going on then, and then things tend to repeat. And it's really fascinating because it throws light on countries like Russia and China and the US and so forth, and the types of patterns that are coming up. And some of them are very soon, in the middle of the decade, they're coming in. So
it's amazing. It's just amazing, all the stuff that you can learn from this. And, even kings and queens and, they've always had astrologers. So, I mean, it's been something that's been done for thousands of years. So, like I said, I feel really lucky to have you come on and talk to us about it. So
well, thank you.
We just, maybe we'll do something again, I hope. And,
Sure.
You guys
Absolutely.
in the chat, thank you so much. Please subscribe to Andre. He's awesome. If you're not, you're missing out. And I will see you Tuesday. I have another show on Tuesday. I have Hogarth coming on, by the way. So he's a different kind of astrologer. I think he's Vedic, and I think you're Western. So it'd be interesting, seeing a little bit of difference. He's never been on before. So you guys come back Tuesday. If we didn't get your questions answered, you maybe can get them answered there, or go to Andre's channel and get them answered there. So thank you so much. Bye, Andre. I'm going to put my closing thing up here now.
Thank you, everyone. That was fun.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.